This is another thing I wrote. You have to understand, these people are saying that I don't care about my kids. Okay. I didn't put a date on this. I wish I did. My view on custody. I don't know what you're being told as the reason I don't see my children. But this is the real reason. My 3 beautiful boys who they are trying to keep from me. They meaning my ex, Paul Brian Baca, who lives in Albuquerque. His father, Samuel Baca, ex-police chief. And his mother, the humanitarian, or the fake humanitarian, Ginny Schulte Regal, from a park above. Anyway, I don't know what you're being told or the reason I don't see my children. But this is the reason. My 3 beautiful boys who they are trying to keep from me. I haven't been able to go to my children's school, meet their teachers, go on school trips. I haven't been able to go to Kaden's communion or either Colin's communion, which are my 2 sons. Children should never be kept from their mother. I spent 10 years taking care of my children. I'm living in my car, so this was back in 2017, 2018. While they keep my children, he has his father doing everything. They have made my life hell, and it's wrong. Okay, this is October 1st, 2018. I'm writing to Mr. Carion. I am writing to Mr. Carion to let him know how disappointed with the case I am. I thought that he would care more than he did, but we have Mr. Carion is Armond Carion. He was one of the lawyers that was doing our case. The charge is like $500 an hour. Just awful. I'm writing to Mr. Carion to let him know how disappointed with the case I am. I thought that he would care more than he did. We have not had a meeting since a few months, and after waiting all that time, the hearing was cancelled. I was under the understanding that we would both have to put up $4,000 aside to cover Mr. Baca and I fully to get, Paul Brian Baca, the kid's father, and I fully evaluated, to which I would like to inform the court that I again fully cooperated and Paul Baca did not. Because he is under the impression that the evaluation that he does at work to carry a gun is the same process as it is to parent 3 children. He works at Sandia National Labs. One with severe emotional issues. I gladly cooperate because I have jumped through hoops to see my children and still the same results. I still don't get to see my beautiful children. It seems like the court does not care who is telling the truth. In the meetings that we had with Mr. Carion, you watched firsthand my ex-husband Paul Baca's temper. You can only imagine how he treated me while we lived together when there was nobody around. If he acted any way like he did in your office during the distribution of funds from the house that I never wanted sold, by the way. When I got kicked out of the house, he got the house, I got kicked out on the street. I had nowhere to go. I had to live in my car for 2.5 years. One time when I went to the Chavez Center, like I had gone on many occasions when he had his day off and the children were home from school, we would take it in turns going to the gym. On this occasion, I had gone as I always had and used the elliptical like I had since the children were very young. I was on the elliptical getting ready to finish my workout. I was more into cardio at the time. As I was finishing my workout, an African American man got on the elliptical next to me. We started to talk about having random chit chat. He told me that he was a pastor and he also told me that he was volunteering at the gym. I stayed on the elliptical another hour because I enjoyed our conversation. After I arrived back at the house, my ex was there to greet me. He asked me how my workout was, and I responded without hesitation and told him that I had met this guy at the gym, and I told him that I had stayed on the elliptical an extra hour. And once I told him that the guy was black, he got into a rage. My ex is a true racist, and these are the values he's trying to teach our children. Once he discovered that I had been talking to a black man at the gym all the time, his demeanor changed. He immediately started telling me his prejudice against black men. And all along during our marriage, he had told me on many occasions that if I was with a black guy, that he would beat me black and blue if I ever that they would beat me black and blue if I ever talked back to them, basically letting me know that I should feel privileged to be with him. He also told me that I would never meet a man like him. I never heard of a narcissist at that time. He got so upset that I refused to sleep with him that night. Not that he cared anyway. I slept with my sons, Kaden and Colin, which I did on a regular basis. I would go into their rooms and read them different stories every night, and they would beg me to lie down with them until they fell asleep. Something I took very much for granted at the time. Had I known then that I would have been cut off from my children because of my ex and his family, I would stay with them all night. My relationship with my children is all that I have. I would watch on a regular basis how much soda my children would have, how much candy they ate. I would teach my children how to recycle, something that went out the window when it came to his ex and his parents. That just means I used to teach my kids to recycle at the house, but whenever we went over to his parents, he didn't care. They didn't care. Every time they went to his parents, as it is like taking joint steps backwards. Everything that I tried to teach them, they never cared about. My ex and both of his parents, my ex Paul Brian Baca and his parents Samuel Baca and Jenny Schulte Riedel. That's Riedl. My ex and both of his parents live in households where the TV is ridiculously loud. I always protected my children from the violence that they watched on it. Sometimes something that my ex and his family does not support. My children are exposed to unnecessary violence on a regular basis, both on the TV and from Xbox games. They are allowed unlimited time on their Xbox and stay up all hours, especially on school nights, without my supervision. When I was responding to the hearing officer's suggestions, I was primarily concerned with getting the Xbox so that I would be able to supervise the boys on whatever they watched. I wanted to make sure that they didn't watch any violence. I wanted to make sure every game they played was age appropriate. I am not there to supervise them now. One of the other requests that I made was that I could get Caden's communion outfit that I purchased at the men's warehouse. I wanted it so that I could take pictures of my son's communion, which again I was not allowed to attend. Being Catholic and growing up in Ireland, would be a crime not to attend Caden's communion or Colin's communion. He cut me out from both of them. I remember looking out the window on Caden's communion day and thinking of him. I remember it being cloudy, and I knew that was because I wasn't there. At one of the supervised visits, I asked Kaden how he felt, and when I didn't attend his communion, he told me that he was sad. I asked him if he told anyone how he felt, and he said no. Then I asked him why. He told me that he didn't want anyone to feel sorry for him. My heart broke for him at that moment. We had heard his father on many occasions say that crying was weak, and that he never wanted to show his father that he was weak. If anyone from the court system takes the time to check out my Facebook, they will see numerous pictures and videos that I have uploaded over the years documenting my children since they were little. I had the camera out every chance I had, trying to never miss a moment, because I knew, in spite of how my children felt at the moment, that when they grew up they would appreciate my efforts. That I would love to look back that I would love to look back when I was little. I have very few pictures of me when I was a child, because back then taking pictures was the last thing on my poor mother's mind. Photography was something I have enjoyed since I was given my first camera by my sister when she returned home from Ireland on a visit when I was a teenager. She was in America and she came back to visit. After that, I had gone through my share of cameras, and I was happy when we finally got to experience what smartphones were. For the last 2+ years, I've been denied the privilege of having pictures of my children unless they were confined to supervised visits, which by the way was supposed to be temporary based on the false allegations that were never investigated. I am still waiting for my day in court to defend myself. I have come a long ways from when we first started. I have grown a lot as a person. I am no longer the person I was when I was with him. Instead of lying in bed for hours on end crying, I have gone to a lot of therapy. I have started taking classes at the community college in Santa Fe. I have renewed my love of writing, hence the reason that I have wrote so much. When I was younger, I used to keep a journal on a regular basis. I did that so long after I got married and my boys were young. When I reached my 14th birthday, I'd always want when I'd reached my 40th birthday, I'd always wanted to take a cruise, and I was happy that he shared the same interest as me, one of the very few we had. We took the Celebrity Cruise Line, and it was very nice. Although it had older age group, it was still fun. When we had returned, I had a sneaky feeling that his mother had been snooping. It was then that I took it upon myself to tear up all my diaries, something I deeply regretted after the separation. I realized I had cut up all the evidence of our crumbling marriage. Now I must rely solely on my memory to put the pieces together. We first had the hearing. I had spent 2 hours at the library responding to 30 objections, which were all denied. One of which was to get the communion outfit that I had bought so that I could take pictures of Kaden in it. It is confusing to me that the court allows you to make objections, and when you do, they don't even take the time to read them. Why would all the 30 simple requests get thrown out? Again, it shows how our court system works, that they don't support both parents' relationship with the children. It seems that people with the most money and have the family support, no matter how dysfunctional it is. Again, you have to remember that his father is an ex-police chief in Albuquerque and also in Florida. That's why I never got anywhere with the courts. We first had the hearing. I had spent 2 hours at the library corresponding with the 30 objections, which were all denied, one of which was to get the communion outfit that I had bought so that I could take pictures of Kaden in it. It's confusing to me that the court always allows you to make objections, and when you do, they don't even take the time to read them. Why would all 30 simple requests get thrown out? Again, it shows how our court system in Albuquerque works, that they don't support both parents' relationship with the children. It seems that people with the most money and have their family support and connections, no matter how dysfunctional they are. That is the whole reason that my ex and his father made up the story about me, because he wanted to control any interactions I had with the children. He wants custody of the children so that he can go all around the country and outside the country with his parents, and I can't take the children anywhere. He made up the ridiculous story of me trying to kidnap the children and take them to Ireland. If you ever looked, if you ever took the time and talked to my children, you would soon discover how crazy that is. I have lived in the United States since 1993. I said 1990, but it was 1993 when I was 22. If I wanted to live in Ireland, I would have moved there instead of relocating to New Mexico. He's trying to cut off any relationship that I have with my three boys. He's alienating me from my children. My children are suffering. What are they telling the teachers in school? Why do the teachers think I am not a part of the children's lives? The children should never have been pulled from Turquoise Trail. It was a wonderful school. I need a pen to mark the pages. Where the children were flourishing. I had every right to be a part of my children. I have every right to be a part of my children's life. I deserve to go to their school and meet their teachers and be involved in my teachers the way every mother has. Paul Baca was no role model. I have never wanted to have full custody of the children because I know that would be ridiculous. But what him and his family is doing to get away and getting away with is total alienation of affection. He grew out of love for me, and that's fine. My love for him had died well before June 19, 2016. I stayed in a marriage that was not working because I had unbreakable love for my three boys. I knew that I had nowhere to go, and I was right. I have been homeless now since July 2017. At the time, I could have left and moved back to Boston or countless other places. I thought that thought never crossed my mind. I would go to the ends of the earth for our children. My friend Denise has offered me numerous occasions to come to Boston and get my mind off everything, to which I have graciously refused. I told her that even though I don't see my children, that at least I was in the same state, that going to Boston would not work, that I would never be able to enjoy myself. Being out of the state, I would feel further away from our children than I already do. On many occasions, I would have gone to the school to see our children, and I have been scared to do so. I was afraid that his father would call the police or try to have me arrested, like he has in many occasions. You don't really know what I've been through with him and his family. No idea what I've been through. I have to see where I let off. I was supposed to move out of the house on the 30th of June. This is 2017. And I had sent my ex, Paul Baca, numerous texts offering him the TV. It was like a $2,000 TV. The furniture, whatever I could, to no avail. Before he had decided on betraying me and siding with his father, I had gone on QVC and purchased a smoker for him to surprise him on Father's Day. The smoker arrived after he had moved out of the house, and he still insisted on having it. He told me that he wasn't going to pay one of my medical bills, which was $100 at the time. So I had no choice but to give him the smoker. Even after all that he told me that he was going to show up with the sheriff, and I better be out of the house. Paul Baca has showed no respect for the boy's mother. He's teaching children to be disrespectful. He's teaching Connor to hate me, and Connor somehow is convinced that I'm going to kidnap him and take him to Ireland, something that I had never dreamed of. Since I have come to New Mexico, I've only visited Ireland one time, and I only saw my father in Glasgow, where my sister lives. Those are the only times I've seen my family since I moved to New Mexico. In comparison to my ex, who sees his parents on a daily basis, or even on a weekend basis, after we had our two boys, his parents would want them almost every weekend, and my ex would go along with it. At first I was okay with it, but later after they divorced, meaning his father and mother divorced, I was no longer comfortable with the arrangement because I had the children all during the week. I wasn't about to keep the children on the weekend when I needed a break as much as they wanted to see them. At the time, I was convinced I was doing the right thing, otherwise, I would never agree to it. I wanted to support my children's relationship by doing the right thing, otherwise, I would never agree to which was exactly what they wanted. When his mother and his father had their nasty divorce, my children were in the midst of it. I could have used that opportunity to take advantage of the situation if I was truly a bad person and filed for divorce. Now I regret it. At the time, I had no idea that things would take the turn that they did. After the dust settled and they started their new lives, when they began planning on how to take the children from me and coming up with the wild allegations that they have. At the time of the breakup, this is back in June 19, 2017, I had planned a trip to Ireland, which I had to cancel due to all the stress that I had. I never knew that the person that I had married would betray me in the fashion that he had. He took his father's side over me. He allowed his father to call the police and tell that I threw Connor in the corner, which I never did. So I was arrested for child abuse, for putting my son in the corner. I had taken our marriage vows seriously, and I had never stepped outside our marriage. I was always afraid that he would use it against me, so I always had my guard up in the marriage. During the end of our marriage, when Paul Baca had moved in with his father back in 2014, things really took a turn for the worst. He was living 4 days a week at his father's, and on those days off, he would go to his mother's. His father would come to Santa Fe almost every Friday to take Connor, Kaden, and Colin. He said at the time that he could only handle one of the boys. He could only handle one of them at a time. If I had any family support, that would not be the case. I didn't have any family to visit. Instead, as things started to get really bad in the marriage, I started to disclose to people that I was close to at the Turquoise Trail School. That's where the boys went to school. Women at the time that I thought were my friends. I never involved the teachers in what was going on, but I'm sure they could put two and two together. My ex would always make smart comments in front of the teachers, and I would see them smile uncomfortably. I always had my children's best interests in mind, and I never once interfered with his parents' relationship with the children. In the back of my mind, I was a wee bit jealous because I wished my parents could be part of the boy's life like his. I lost my mom back in 2003 to a heart attack. This was prior to me moving to New Mexico. See what time it is, because I am supposed to have a call. When I first lived with my ex, he had told me on many occasions, especially when he kicked in the front door of our house and begged me not to call the police. At the time, I recorded everything on video and took pictures in case I would ever need it. He informed me that he would never involve lawyers or the law enforcement. I promised that he was quick to throw away once his father got involved. At the time, I was scared to do anything to hurt my family, especially when I came from a family with no divorce. I was raised to believe that when you marry, it's for life. Your spouse comes first, your children second, and your parents last. After I got married, I quickly realized how much his mother played a role in his life. She still babied him like he was a little boy and still continues to do so. He was also a huge problem. She was also a huge problem in our marriage. She constantly interfered along with his father, and my ex would never draw any boundaries between our marriage union and his parents. There were many occasions when his mothers would do projects in the house that I disagreed with, and he would side with his mother. There came a point after I had my third son, Kaden, or actually my third son, Colin, that I finally stepped up when she and my ex-husband, Paul Baca, were trying to do the flagstone in the backyard, and I could tell them that they didn't have. I could tell that they didn't have a clue what they were doing. They would ask me what side of the flagstone I wanted, and when I went into the house, like I would tell them I wanted the smooth side, and as soon as I went into the house, they would change it and make it the rough side, because that's what his mother wanted. They, um, as soon as I went into house, they would change it to the rough side. I had wanted her to be inside with the grandkids and not outside doing the flagstone. I, I could tell by the spacing it was all wrong. Like that was like something he was supposed to do with me. That was a project we were supposed to do together. That was not a project for him and his mother. Paul Baca and I went to Lowe's to pick out laminate for the master bedroom. After looking at a few, we decided on somewhat expensive laminate that cost $40 a box. It took a while for both of us to agree on the right one. We brought all 13 boxes, and these were big boxes filled with laminate. We bought all 13 boxes back to the house and took them upstairs to the master bedroom, because we were taking the carpet out of the master bedroom and we were going to put laminate in the master bedroom. They came with the soundproofing at the bottom of them, so you didn't have to purchase that separately. I've always wanted to learn how to do laminate. I saw his mother do projects and I wanted to learn how to do them myself at the time. At the time, I was an avid watcher of fixer-upper programs and the HGTV network. Timmy, his uncle, was recruited by my ex and his mother to do the laminate. Timmy is a meth addict for over 20 years. I was informed by his mother on numerous occasions that he knew what he was doing, so I was looking forward to learning from him, the expert in commas. I quickly discovered that it was another claim to fame that wasn't going to happen. Timmy came by the first night at 9 p.m. to do the laminate, so I made the futon downstairs so that he could get a good night's rest and get up early in the morning to start fresh. I didn't know that he was going to start doing the laminate at that time in the evening. I didn't think that the neighbors would take kindly for the disturbance, but I kept my thoughts to myself. I'm going to stop here because I have a meeting, and then I'll pick up after the meeting. Okay? I'm just trying to give you an understanding of everything in our marriage, and hopefully someone out there knows a lawyer that can help me, just get justice. I'm a loving mom and I love my kids with all my heart. And I'm disgusted with the New Mexico court system. They're supposed to have the best interests of the children, and that's not. They've never cared about me. No matter what I've said, no matter what I've done, nothing. They never cared. They took his side all the time. Anyway, I'll pick up after the meeting. Thanks.